switching between remote and home.
Yep. Yep.
So we don't need to log in.
Not at
do we?
all.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
In fact,
Not
you
at
read
all.
the fine print, don't
It
tell
does, yeah, we're not, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Right.
All right. Ready here?
Yep. All right.
All right. Ready here? Okay. I hated the playback of that.
Yeah.
So we're live. Do we have the waiting room cleared?
Yep, I can admit all now. You ready?
Mhm.
Is it a Casa board meeting?
All right, it's 6:05. We'll go ahead and call our annual meeting to order. Want to welcome everyone to the Casa Esperanza Board of Directors annual meeting, July 13th here. And we do have a quorum with all board members present. So we'll jump right in. We've got a busy agenda tonight. Start with the conflict of interest statement, followed by the school mission statement, please.
Board members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle.
No.
Any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us. If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of the chair. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on the matter. Mission statement. Casa Esperanza Montessori educates students using the Montessori philosophy and Spanish language acquisition in a way that develops independent, self-motivated individuals who possess the critical thinking skills necessary to become responsible global citizens.
Thank you. Now we move on to the consent agenda. There have been no changes to the one that was sent out to the board. Are there any other edits that need to be made to the agenda? If so, please let it be known. Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve, Monica.
Second, Alice.
Okay, all those in favor, you can name yourselves. Monique, aye.
Monica, I.
Alice, aye. Soraka, aye.
John, I. Mike, I.
Seth, I.
Thank you. Agenda approved. Moving on, there are the minutes from our July 1st meeting. Secretary Mike and I have reviewed them, assuming everyone else has as well.
Motion to approve the minutes. Seth.
I second, Mrs. Soraka.
Those in favor, Monique, aye.
Monica, I.
Alice, aye. Soraka, aye.
John, I. Mike, I.
Seth, I.
Thank you, minutes approved. I know, I'm like, we'll get the hang of it by the end. All right, are there any announcements to be made? None, okay. We'll move on with Dr. Miller with a head of school report.
Thanks, everybody. I emailed you a report that had three key priorities that we're working on right now. The one was enrollment. So you can take a look and see this week, our front office staff is reaching out to any families on a wait list. And we have currently 594 of 619 confirmed, coming on that first day. And so what we'll continue to do is reach out to all those families. When the staff starts to come back on the 26th, they'll call and confirm everybody, ensuring that we've got all their information and that the first day of school is the second. And we're currently still planning on July 30th being our Meet the Teacher Day. We're still working through some of the protocols for that. So looking good with enrollment, and I'll just continue to update this each week for you all. There was only probably one, second grade seems to be the only grade level that we don't have a lot of students on the wait list. If I'm reading it correctly, I want to verify with us, Barbara and Celeste. But the way I'm reading it, that's probably where our waiting list starts to drop off, is that second grade and the upper grades. But otherwise, right now we are full, and in most grades over enrolled by a couple. So I don't know if there were any questions about that.
When you say over enrolled, do you mean classroom size or just in terms of wait list?
Classroom size. So there are, in the second column, there's a what the goal was on the first day of school, and then on the left-hand column is how many they have. So it looks like there's one or two students almost per every enrichment or immersion group over that they've allowed in, I guess. So second grade immersion was one that had 10 students less, but they're with no wait list. So I'll have to find out what the policies and procedures are on that if we're moving students, because we do have a wait list for enrichment in that grade level. So that's just what I don't know. I don't know what I don't know with some of those. So I don't want to speak out of turn on what the processes are for enrolling students in those two different groups. So that's that. And then staffing. So we have 7 teacher openings. And so we have 4 teachers currently in their second or third interviews. And we've also had multiple interviews with candidates for the reading interventionist. So we're hoping that next week we can bring candidates for approval to you all to fill the majority of those positions. And we also republished all of the jobs through a few other groups, Indeed being one of them. So we've had a lot of candidates in the last 24 hours. So we're combing through those as well. So we've got a team of teachers working on that. And then I reached out to a few other Montessori groups and partners in the Hispanic communities to identify other places that we could post some of these jobs. So they're all listed in your board report. EPI is no longer setting up interviews for us. They have hit their capacity in terms of international employees that they're able to bring into the United States. So they guided me to a couple of other groups as well. So I've reached out to them to set up appointments to talk to them, see how we get involved. And then I guess the one thing I would definitely recommend, and I just want to learn more about the process, is, Casa is not a host or a sponsor organization. And I would just highly recommend that we look at that so we have multiple pipelines to be able to recruit for our immersion classrooms. So what I did is I took a screenshot of the applicants we've had per every position. You can see that the assistant head of school has had 16. I think it's actually a few higher than that. So as soon as we make a decision on head of school, well, we'll start combing through those and see and start to get folks their initial phone screenings next week. And then I also took a screenshot of the NC teacher match. You can see there's quite a discrepancy between the number of applications we get on teacher match, which used to be a much higher level employment portal. And there just hasn't been a lot of applicants on there. Most of those have been open since April. Indeed, I definitely have. So you see the vacancies, that's on page 4. We did have a resignation today that I forwarded on to you, Monique, our first and second grade enrichment teacher became an opening. So we have two enrichment and 5 immersion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Any questions on the plans for hiring and the timeline? If we're not able to fill the positions, the first thing we'll do obviously is we'll use our non-instructional staff, our non-instructional teacher staff. So we have 2 interventionalists, well, 1, and then we're going to recommend for hire another one who's a former Casa employee, hopefully early next week. And so we would use those in the classroom first, and then the second piece would be gathering our, using our best, subs or other applicants to be able to fill those positions until we have folks here on campus ready to go.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then just a few priorities from a finance is we got to finish the audit items. There was a list of things that came back from the auditors that we've got to provide them for our annual audit. I was going to ask Ms. Ward whether about the ESSR 2 and 3 grants were ever applied for. So I had to put in my information to be able to be given access to our grant portals, but that would have been additional funds to support coming out of COVID for emotional health and student academics. So I don't know if we applied for those or not. And then the other piece would be collecting paperwork for all of our new hires. So just making sure that we have someone in place that when we do have these new hires, that we've got all their paperwork in place. So those are 3 big things. And then lastly, getting the building ready. We have maintenance inspectors are coming on Thursday to do 2 things. We have carpet cleaning occurring on Thursday. And then we also have the maintenance inspectors going to do internal and external to just, give us a good list of things that probably need to be addressed before the first day of school for safety and cleanup. So once we get that, then we'll put a plan in place.
Excellent.
I will say to the families listening, there's been lots of people who have reached out for information. And so I'm just going to plan on a couple of probably virtual meetings to answer questions leading up to the first day of school will probably be the easiest. I can't have one-on-one meetings with every family, But I would say these two things. Number one, ensuring that your child has been learning and is happy with the great teachers that we've had at Casa, and that's really going to be the staple point and the focus. Of that, me being in my 13th day, I don't have all the answers of what happened in the past, but I can certainly say that moving forward, we're going to make really great decisions and really ensure that every classroom is filled with a person of character who loves kids and is willing to learning the Montessori model and the Casa way to ensure your child has the best education. So that's really been our focus. We've got a group of teacher leaders that are working really hard to make sure that we're spending a lot of time with these candidates. We have 5 or 6 teachers working every day, reaching out to every candidate, and having multiple interviews with them. So I feel good about that. Timing's short, but I'm really confident that we'll be fully staffed on that first day.
Excellent, Tom. Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions? Okay. Kind of rolling into the plans a little bit. The next on the agenda, Dr. Miller, was about return to school and pandemic preparations. Can you give the board a briefing on your recommendations for that and where we stand, what the policies would be, because the board was going to just discuss if there's any updates in legislation and what the position of the school will be in regards to those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I put a message out to some other charter school principals. I run a group every Monday, so this upcoming Monday will be our next one to really get an understanding of what the rest of the schools are doing. There has not been a formal update to the Safe Schools Guide or the Return to School kits. And I wanted to bring staff together that were part of the safety planning last year to have a conversation with them around what those expectations will be. Right now, our number one piece is always safety for all adults and kids in the building. So we're limiting the number of non-CASA employees in the building. If we do have folks there, and if they're vaccinated, then it's certainly their choice to wear a mask or not. If they're not vaccinated, we're certainly asking them to wear a mask and stay social distant the entire time. And then, so I would say, if it's okay with the members of the board, by Tuesday, for me to have a little bit more information to see if there's been an update, because I'm really curious to see what the other schools are doing before I say something formal. Plus, I'd also like to talk to the staff about what worked and what didn't work last year.
Sounds reasonable. Anyone else have comments, questions about that? Okay. Okay, we will table that and come back. Thank you again. All right. Next up, we have a personnel and candidate review to discuss some qualifications and initial employment. So we will need to take a closed session for that. We have the appropriate statute listed there in the agenda. And so for anyone joining us remotely, we will utilize the virtual waiting room while we do that, but we will need a motion, please, to enter into closed session.
Motion to go to closed session. This is John.
I second, this is Saraka.
Those in favor?